morning, students. Today I am going to continue the chapter The Establishment of the British Company. In previous video I explained you about Battle of Plassey and the Battle of Buxar. In Battle of Buxar I explained you that Mir Qasim was defeated by the British in series of battles. He fled to Awadh and take shelter with the Nawabs of Awadh, Siraj-ud-Dawla. The two forced association against the British along with the Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II. Their combined forces met the British forces at Buxar on 22 October 1764 and were defeated by British under Major Hector Munro. Mir Qasim was driven out of Bengal and Mir Zafar was again placed in the position of authority. Shah Alam II went over the British side and Siraj-ud-Dawla escaped to Rohilkhand. Awadh came under the influence of the British. Awadh was given back to the Siraj-ud-Dawla, but it came under the influence of the British. Mir Zafar had to pay rupees 5 lakh every month to English India Company. The company wanted more money to finance its war and met the demands of trade and its other expenses. It also wanted more territories and more revenue. After failing to work with puppet Nawabs, the mood of the company had changed by the time of death of Mir Zafar in 1765. The company realized that they must become Nawabs themselves. The Mughal Emperor appointed the company as the Diwan of the province of Bengal in 1765, which allowed the company to use the vast revenue resources of Bengal. The major problem that the company was faced earlier became solved. Although its trade with India had expanded from the early 18th century, they had to buy most of the goods in India with gold and silver imported from Britain. During this time, Britain had no goods to sell in India. This outflow of gold entirely stopped after introducing Diwani, because revenues from India of Diwani could finance company expenses. The company could also use these revenues in different ways: to purchase cotton and silk textiles in India, maintain company troops, meet the cost of building the company fort and offices at Calcutta. Now, what is dual system? Now, today I will explain you about the system of dual administration. Now, what this system means and who introduced it. In 1765, Robert Clive introduced a system of dual government in Bengal after granting Diwani right. East India Company appointed Raza Khan to collect the revenue. The company took no responsibilities for the administration of these territories. Although the Nawab was still responsible for their administration, he had no access to any resources and no power. This type of unique system was called dual government. This system influenced the people of Orissa because neither the East India Company nor the Nawab took responsibility for their welfare. Even during the massive starvation in 1770, people got any relief from any of the sites. As a result, 1/3 of its population was killed. This system ended in 1772 and brought Bengal under direct control of the company. Then Warren Hastings became a new Governor General. Now, Nabobs. As the company gained more power and authority, each company servant began to have vision of living like Nawabs. The actual Nawabs of Bengal were forced to give land and money to personal gifts to company officials. After the Battle of Plassey, the East India Company officials only collected vast fortunes for themselves. Robert Clive himself collected a fortune in India because his Indian fortune was worth of rupees 401,102 when he left India in 1767. He was appointed Governor of Bengal in 1764 to remove corruption in company administration. But he was himself cross-examined in 1772 by the British Parliament, which suspected him his vast wealth. He was committed suicide in 1774. Not all company officials were corrupted and dishonest. Many of them came from humble backgrounds and their utmost desire was to earn enough in India, return to Britain and live a comfortable life. Officials of East India Company who became very rich through corrupt trade and other practice were called Nabob. It was an anglicized version of the Indian word Nawab. Now, how the company expand their territories, how they have expanded the companies. Now, they have done lots of work. That is the instrument of British expansion. The British supremacy was established by two main methods: direct and indirect annexation. Punjab and Sindh were examples of direct annexation. It was the subsidiary alliance which was considered more beneficial. Annexation of Indian territories was also done through the doctrine of lapse, which started under Lord Dalhousie. The subsidiary alliance was the most effective instrument for the expansion of the British territory, and political influence in India started by Lord Wellesley. Under this system, the British agreed to maintain a permanent and fixed subsidiary force within the territory for their ally. In return, they did not take money but took over a part of the territory of the ally. A British officials called resident was also placed at the court of the ruler, and he could not maintain any relation with any other ruler without the approval of British. The Indian rulers felt a false sense of security against the other rulers, while in reality they lost their independence. The British could, on the other hand, maintain large forces at the expenses of Indian rulers and also increased their area of influence. The states brought under British control by this system were Hyderabad, Awadh, Gwalior, Indore, Jaipur and Jodhpur. So, in 1765, Robert Clive introduced a system of dual system in Bengal. He was appointed as granted Diwani rights. Now, how they have done the expansion? The company appointed resident in India states after the Battle of Buxar, who were political and commercial agents. Their jobs was to serve for the company. The company officials began interfering the internal affairs of the Indian states. They also tried to decide who was to be the successor to the throne and who was to be appointed in administrative post. Sometimes the company forced the states into a subsidiary alliance, according to which Indian rulers were not allowed to have their independent armed force. They were to be protected by the company, and they had to pay for subsidiary forces. If the Indian rulers were unable to make the payment of subsidiary forces, then part of their territory was taken away as a penalty by the company. The example of Awadh was forced to give over half of its territory of the company in 1801, as he failed to pay for the subsidiary force. When Richard Wellesley was Governor General. Now you have to do exercises. Do fill in the blanks and true and false in your book.